Today, I am delighted to be speaking with Oghosa Erhahon, who is a lawyer and an energy and sustainability analyst based in Nigeria. Welcome to the studio, Oghosa.
Thank you, Nicolette. I'm so glad to be here.
So in your Women in Energy interview, which is featured in ESI Africa issue 1, 2021, you said that by 2030, we should expect less funding as the world moves through the energy transition, and Africa should be ready for this. Why do you anticipate there being less funding?
Okay, so the 2020 pandemic, as we've all witnessed, had actually disrupted a lot of economies, and many nations are now working on emerging stronger from the hit from COVID-19. And this hit has had an impact on healthcare, to business environment, to insurgencies, a whole host of things. So I just believe nations are now taking strategic steps towards putting their own citizens first. And then we're obviously not seeing much of that right now, but I think obviously as the vaccine rollouts happen and more nations are really focused on rebuilding their countries, we're going to see a lot more cuts in funding. So the British decision published, I think, early this year to slash overseas aid from 0.7% to about 0.5% of the British gross national income, could kind of be like a taste of what's to come, and this has obviously been a difficult decision for Britain, as they have actually been one of the largest in international aid to African nations. So this slash is a big indication of what African nations should anticipate. And this cut hasn't actually been for just development aid. You've also seen it in research grants as well. So there's actually been a 70% cut in foreign research grants from the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, from the Royal Society as well, both in Britain. So we're just seeing these little tabs of little cuts here and there. And I do anticipate it to actually become a bit more as other nations actually start looking at their books and checking out what the COVID-19 pandemic and just economic instability has really done for their economies. And that could, have an effect on the funding available to African nations.
Yeah, right, exactly. So what exactly would you recommend African countries or African governments should be doing to prepare for this changing funding? Are there measures that they can put in place? You can name just one or two.
Okay, so being prepared for the funding actually means that African governments have to be honest about their past reliance on international aid. The obvious would be that governments will have to pick up the slack in actually implementing policies and frameworks that are called for African nations to be a bit more independent and create capacity for funding these developments or research or anything like that. Another could be actually realizing that international aid is not a system, but a support or a supplement to development. So even local investors or international investors have to step up, and for them to step up, the government in this instance has to actually create more enabling environments to kind of reduce the slack from international aid per se to more private investors or government investment into these kind of programs or projects.
And I think we have been seeing this trend happening very slowly, but as you say, by 2030 we really need to be prepared. So during our interview, you also spoke about prioritizing energy efficiency, education alongside electrification rates. Why is this important?
So energy generation is great for electrification, obviously, and we've seen with energy you can do so much, right? But energy efficiency is making sure that we're taking the maximum advantage of electricity generated and distributed. If there's no energy efficiency awareness or education, one person could be using so much energy that serves 4 people, but energy efficiency allows people to kind of use the same hooks of energy to do more things, right? And this could include things like switching off your bulbs and saving electricity by switching to energy saving bulbs, or something less sort of like regulating your cooling systems. That really has an impact on the amount of electricity credits you have to buy, or the amount of electricity you have available to you for a specific period of time.
Right. And who do you feel is best placed to drive this need?
Okay, so this was quite an interesting question. Thank you, Nicolette. So the best to drive this would be an obvious answer: the government. They kind of are responsible to introduce energy policies and and implement and raise awareness to also help people being in control of their energy and following best practice methods. Another would probably be industries. Now, industries play a mighty big role in energy efficiency. It's not something that's often discussed in the tabloids, but it's something that we should obviously be putting more into the conversations that we have. So if industries are able to reduce the cost of their energy, they have more to kind of spend on reducing the cost that they have for the goods production and therefore making their goods and services cheaper. Another best place to probably be SMEs. Now, this is an interesting one because we haven't occasionally like spoken about SMEs in the past, but what happens is SMEs are more focused on energy efficiency, kind of reduction or awareness. They have more money to kind of like spend on expanding their businesses. Now, SMEs actually make about 48% of Nigeria, for example's national GDP. And in that instance, they make up 36% of businesses and they provide about 80% of employment. So if SMEs are saving on energy through energy efficiency, they can pay people more, they have more funds available to actually expand their resources for other businesses or exploitation, anything like that.
Mm-hmm. I also feel that it is government that should be leading this communication, but that everybody needs to be involved. Oghosa, so thank you so much for sharing your personal insights with us today. And thank you to our viewers for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more expert interviews and visit esiafrica.com to read the full interview with Oghosa Erhahon and inspirational women in energy. Bye for now.